Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, longtime astrologer, psychic, hypnotherapist, and healer. In today's episode, I'm going to discuss the astrology of July 2020. So stay tuned. Hey listeners, remember to tune in to Cosmic Scene Radio Show, broadcast live on WATD 95.9 FM on Boston South Shore and streaming live on 959watd.com on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The beauty of the radio show is that you can call into 781-837-4900 when I'm live in the studio and get mini readings. In this episode, I'm going to discuss the busy astrological month of July 2020. We have lots of planetary action, including eclipses and major shifts, both energetically and planetarily, that will ring in a brighter and lighter summer. So here's the highlights. On July 5th, we're going to have a full moon lunar eclipse. I'll give you more details in a moment. Mercury goes direct after being retrograde for 3 weeks. It will go direct on July 12th. In Vedic astrology, something called the Kalsarpa Yoga, which is considered malefic and has been going on for a while, 4 months, will break up on July 15th, and then we have the new moon in the sign Cancer on July 20th. So lots of ups and downs this month. Let's talk about the big fireworks coming on July 4th. If you're on the West Coast, and July 5th if you're on the East Coast, with a full moon lunar eclipse occurring on July 4th at 9:44 p.m. Pacific time and 12:44 a.m. on July 5th East Coast time. I know I have been sharing a lot of eclipse information lately in my podcasts, so make sure you go back and listen to the previous podcast, Total Eclipse of the Sun, what you need to know about eclipses, and the follow-up eclipses of June 2020. Go back and listen to those episodes, and then you'll understand this eclipse cycle that we're in from June 5th through July 5th. A lot of juicy eclipse info in those podcasts, including what is eclipse fallout. So, just as a refresher, eclipses usually occur in a cycle of 2 eclipses 2 weeks apart. A solar eclipse at the new moon, and then a lunar eclipse 2 weeks later at a full moon, or vice versa. This eclipse season of June and July 2020 has been unusual because we have had 3 eclipses in a 6-week period, straddling 2 months. The lunar eclipse full moon of June 5th, 2020 was activating the signs of Sagittarius and Gemini, with the moon in Sagittarius and the sun in Gemini. So you Sagittarius and Geminis will be feeling that one through November when we have the companion eclipse November 30th. Then we had a new moon summer solstice solar eclipse on June 21st with the sun and moon in the sign Cancer. And now in July, we have another full moon lunar eclipse with the sun in Cancer and the moon in Capricorn on July 5th. Now remember, eclipse fallout lasts for the 6 months after the eclipse and peaks 3 months after. So that means in September 2020, we will see a lot of change and eclipse fallout, meaning that we're going to see big changes in our structures, in our societies, and other repercussions. As I have said in previous eclipse episodes, many people tend to die during eclipse cycles and for the 3 months after. And you can tell a lot of people are passing away by the number of celebrities who die. You see their names on the news every night. So now we come to this third eclipse in the cycle of the summer of 2020. It's going to be on July 4th or 5th, depending on your location, with the sun in Cancer and moon in Capricorn. This ends the past 18-month cycle of eclipses occurring in the signs Cancer and Capricorn. But Cancer and Capricorns will still feel the eclipse very strongly for the next 6 months, especially you Cancerians born in early July, first 10 days of July, and the early Capricorns born in the first week of January, the early October Librans, so from about the 1st to the 10th of October, and then the early April Aries, those born from about the 1st or 10th through 10th of April. Because these are all cardinal signs, and this eclipse on July 5th is activating the cardinal signs of Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, Libra. But for everyone, this eclipse signifies a time of endings. We are closing a chapter in the book of our lives. Especially look back at what has transpired in your life for the past 18 months. And that is the cycle you are ending or culminating. As in all lunar eclipses, this July 5th eclipse will bring things to the surface and also reveal hidden secrets and information. So the July 5th full moon lunar eclipse with the moon in Capricorn and the sun in Cancer will help us restructure our lives for the next 6 months. We've had to do that anyway in the past 6 months because of the coronavirus. People's life structures have taken a hit, and some have crumbled or disappeared. Again, this has been since the January 5th lunar eclipse through the July 5th lunar eclipse. It was very Capricornian, and so many structures tumbled due to the pandemic. However, now we're looking at how can we restructure them. And some of these things that have taken a hit were the economy, because many lost their jobs. Some may lose their homes, and so many had to totally restructure their lives. Capricorn, the sign the moon is in on the July 5th eclipse, and the sign the January 5th lunar eclipse was in. Capricorn rules business, and we have seen how so many businesses have had to adapt to a new way of doing business and be very flexible. For example, the restaurant industry, travel industry, corporations, business offices, universities, schools, and most businesses have had to find a new way to work. People have taken financial losses, and many don't know when they can go back to normal. Well, we won't go back to normal, but we'll experience the new normal with certain limitations going forward. So we will see the picking up of the pieces now in the next 6 months due to this July 5th eclipse. The sun is in Cancer during that eclipse and through the 22nd of July, which will continue to shine a focus on home, security, family, community, country. Many have become resigned to spending more time at home. So we are making massive home improvements this summer, many, especially to their outdoor spaces, adding pools, patios, gazebos, and spacious outdoor setups. There's a lot of socialization going on in people's backyards. This eclipse is important to us living in the United States because it falls on the natal sun of the United States, which was founded on July 4th, 1776, the exact day. So the United States is going to experience some major changes and shifts for the next 6 months. Remember, The June 5th eclipse, 2020, stirred up the natal eclipse placement in Donald Trump's chart. So both the president of the country and the country will experience a dark night of the soul in some aspect. Some of the other predictions that I'm giving you here as a result of this July 5th, 2020 eclipse are, I believe we'll see more protests and demonstrations, especially in the first half of July as a result of eclipse fallout, and then at the end of August. And the reason why I'm saying that is because September is, again, the peak or midpoint. And so as we get into the end of August and September, there's going to be some protests, perhaps tumultuous confrontations between protesters and police at the end of August and September. Hopefully not. Hopefully people will shift consciousness. But we'll also see in September a lot of shifts and changes because the planets Saturn and Jupiter that have been going retrograde since May will turn direct in September 2020, and it also is the midpoint of this eclipse cycle. So we're going to see some progress, especially with finding remedies for the coronavirus and quelling the fears around it. Travel and schools will reopen, and there's a possibility of vaccines being discovered that will work in October 2020. They may not be applied until early 2021, but there's going to be a lot of hope for the general health situation brought on by the pandemic. The economy will make a slow comeback after this eclipse cycle. There may be another government stimulus offered to citizens in the U.S. in August. An area that this eclipse may stir up and we'll have to watch closely is the weather. Weather and climate-wise, we're going to be experiencing quite a turbulent cycle, which means that because Capricorn rules the earth and Cancer rules water, Capricorn's an earth sign, Cancer's a water sign, we may see more earthquakes and hurricanes. I predict there may be some earthquakes in the western part of the United States and around the Pacific Rim area. Weather-wise, there will be extremes of heat. It probably will be a more hotter summer than usual here in the U.S. In places like the Northeast and other places that don't get hot will be very hot and humid this summer. And the cycles of weather will be erratic, meaning it could be very, very hot one day and then dip the next week. So we're going to see a lot of ups and downs with the temperatures and weather. And then because the sign Cancer is a water sign and we're also having a new moon July 20th in the sign Cancer, that after the 20th of July there may be a bad hurricane season. I feel hurricanes may be hitting the southeast coast of Florida and then up toward the Gulf of Mexico, Florida, Panhandle, Louisiana, and possibly making their way up the East Coast up to Virginia. So even though we're going to have a lot of shaking and quaking, again, it's a birthing process. We're birthing a new earth. We're birthing a new consciousness on our planet, in our country, around the world. So these are the birthing pains as Mother Earth tries to release her toxicity that humans have put on the planet and release those things that are not healthy for the planet or for individuals. And by the way, all these eclipses that have occurred in June and July 2020 are also highly infused with spiritual light. So we can use these windows, especially 2 days before an eclipse, the day of, and 2 days after, to really enhance any spiritual practices, prayer, meditation, yogic practices, and you'll reap the benefits in the coming months, especially after July 15th, when some things are freed up energetically. July will feel like 2 months in one because after the July 5th eclipse, things will start to free up and move forward, especially after Mercury moves direct on July 12th and the Kalsarpa Yoga in Vedic astrology, a malefic pattern of planets, is cleared. So this Mercury retrograde has been especially enhanced because of the fact that the Mercury has been going retrograde through the sign Cancer, and these eclipses have been happening in the sign Cancer, the June 20th and 21st, and the July 4th and 5th. Again, depending where you were located, but this is a lot of Cancerian energy, and Mercury was retrograde in that sign. So it's put a lot of things in a holding pattern. Many have had the difficulty with the electronics and schedules, delays, timing, maybe putting plans off. Well, folks, the good news is that things will be freed up after July 12th. We have all been in a virtual holding pattern since March because of planetary placements, and we can finally break free. The new moon in Cancer arrives on July 20th, 2020, and this is another significator of new beginnings and clearing and releasing old energy, especially that we have been dealing with those energies, those patterns, the dense energy that we have been dealing with for the past 4 months. Between Mercury going direct and the new moon in Cancer, we can make some plans for our future. Buy those airline tickets, make your travel plans, go on those dates, take a vacation, go skinny dipping. There'll be more socialization, more optimism and hope in the second half of July and into August, especially after the sun goes into the fun and frolicking fire sign of Leo on July 22nd. Creative projects that have been put on the back burner will get a boost. People can make headway on reconstructing their careers and businesses. There'll be a lot of new opportunities coming in, and people will have a new perspective. The sun will shine bright at the end of July. So go out and have some fun in the sun. So sometimes on Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, especially with the astrological updates, I like to share a remedy to help you navigate the planets at this time. And so for the month of July, I've decided to share the Sanskrit mantra for the planet Mercury, called Buddha in Sanskrit. As some of you may remember from previous podcasts when I have chanted mantra with you, Sanskrit mantra is an ancient formula of sounds that come from the ancient Vedas of India and have been around for many, many moons. It's best to chant them under the guidance of an initiated teacher of Sanskrit, of which I am. Thank you to my lineage of Namadeva Acharya, Thomas Ashley Farand, Guru Ramamata, Satguru Sankeshavadas, who have initiated me in that lineage. So for the month of July, because Mercury, the planet of communication, travel, ease, and schedules, swiftness, is compromised until the 12th. It is retrograde, and then there will be a window for several days when Mercury goes direct. But we will want to move forward with plans at the end of the month. We'll chant to Mercury to help mitigate any eclipse fallout, any Mercury retrograde fallout. So the mantra for Mercury is Om Budhaya Namaha. So the name of the planet is Buddha in Sanskrit, not like the Buddha who had enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, but it's simply the name of the deity of the planet Mercury. So we'll chant the Mercury mantra 9 times. Remember, it's best to chant it 108 times yourself, but I'm going to teach you the cadence and pronunciation. Here we go. Om Budhaya Namaha, 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 Om Budhaya Namaha. On these warm summer evenings, don't you feel like kicking back and having a nice glass of wine to unwind? But you can't stand those yucky pesticides, fillers, and wine headaches you get from most wine. Let me tell you about Scout and Cellar Clean Crafted Wine. Scout and Cellar is organic, clean crafted, and always free of synthetic pesticides, chemical additives, and sweeteners. So order yours now at scoutandcellar.com/Jill Jardine. Try this delicious and pure wine straight from the grape to your glass. Hey listeners, I hope you enjoyed this episode on the astrology of July 2020. Remember to download this episode and all the episodes of Cosmic Scene, share them, and give them a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, sending you good vibrations through the quantum field.